Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. This is Ashok from Ashok IT. Today, we are here to learn about three important tools that every developer and every DevOps engineer should know. So, those are first one is Docker, second one is Kubernetes. Kubernetes is also called as K8s, guys, and the third one is Jenkins. Okay, so in the real time, this Docker tool is used for containerization. Docker tool is used for containerization. What is the containerization? It will take 1 week of time to understand what is containerization and how to deploy our applications as containers by using Docker. That is the whole concept that we are going to learn for 1 week of time. The next one, Kubernetes is available. Kubernetes is also called as K8s. Why we are calling this as K8s? Between K and S characters, there are 8 characters available in the middle. So the short form for the Kubernetes is K8s. This K8s is used for orchestration. So orchestration is nothing but management, guys. This Kubernetes software is used to manage Docker containers. Docker is used to run our application as a container. How many containers should be created, when to create the container, when to destroy the container, increase the containers, decrease the containers, implement load balancing among the containers. All such kind of management work will be taken care by Kubernetes. That is called orchestration platform. And the next one, Jenkins. The Jenkins software, the Jenkins tool is used to implement automated build and deployments, guys. So to automate build and deployments, it is also called as CI/CD server. It is also called as CI/CD server. CI/CD server, nothing but CID server is nothing but continuous integration and continuous deployment. So if you want to automate project build and deployment process, then we are going to use this Jenkins CI/CD server. These are the three tools that we are going to learn as part of this course. And this course is going to run for next 30 days of time. So for Docker, it is going to take approximately 4 or 5 classes we are going to spend on the Docker. Then 2 weeks of time we are going to spend on the Kubernetes part, and the Jenkins we are going to spend for 1 week of time. So total, these are three tools we are going to learn in the next 30 days of time. Docker, which is used for containerization. Next one, Kubernetes, which is used for orchestration. The next one, Jenkins, which is used for CI/CD automation, continuous integration and continuous deployment. Fine. Coming to the Docker, what we are going to learn. Coming to the Docker, we are going to understand what is containerization, and why we need to go for containerization. What are the problems available in the market? So if you are deploying one application without Docker, what are the challenges we are going to face, and how we can overcome those challenges by using Docker? What is the advantage of going for containerization? What is that containerization? Why we should go for that containerization? Then we are going to understand Docker introduction. Then we are going to learn about Docker architecture. What is Docker? What is the architecture of that Docker? Then we will understand how to do the Docker setup. Docker setup in the Linux VM. We are going to take one Linux virtual machine and we will set up the Docker software in that Linux virtual machine. And we are going to understand Docker images, Docker containers, Docker images, Docker containers, and we will discuss about Docker registry. And the most important thing, how to work with the Docker file, how to write a Docker file. For example, I want to deploy Java application. How to write a Docker file for that? I want to deploy Python application. How to write a Docker file for that? Okay, for Angular, React, different technologies available in the market. For all those technology specific projects, how we are going to write a Docker file, that we are going to learn. After this Docker file, we are going to talk about Docker network will be available, Docker volumes will be available, and Docker compose will be available, and the next one, Docker swarm will be available. So this is the syllabus of the Docker. As part of the Docker tool, we are going to learn all these things. So actually, these last four topics that we are learning is not that much important. Why? Because all these four topics in the real time, Docker Swarm will not be used. Why? Because the alternate for the Docker Swarm is Kubernetes. Docker Compose will not be used. The alternate is Kubernetes. Docker volumes we don't use because Kubernetes will manage the volumes for our application. Docker network is not required when you are going for the Kubernetes. Just for sake of the syllabus, we are going to learn these four topics, but they are not that much important. We don't use in the real time. When we don't use in the real time, if your project is having orchestration platform like Kubernetes or OpenShift, then the last four topics are not required. Suppose in your project, orchestration platform is not available. If you are not using Kubernetes and OpenShift, then these concepts are important. Otherwise, up to the Docker file knowledge is sufficient for us. For sake of the syllabus, we are going to learn these topics also as part of our course. So this is related to Docker syllabus. What is the containerization and why we should go for that? What is the Docker? What is the Docker architecture? How to set up Docker? Docker you can set up in the Windows and in the Linux also, but in the real time, we are going to use Docker in the Linux machines only, not in the Windows machines. And what is the Docker image? How to create a Docker image? And from the Docker image, how to create a Docker container? And how to store the Docker images in the Docker registry? How to write a Docker file? And how to create the Docker network for the containers communication. If one container want to communicate with the another container, then we need to set up some network for the communication. That's where Docker network comes into picture. And the next one, Docker volumes concept is available for the storage. The next one, Docker Compose is available, which is used to manage multi-container based application. When your application dealing with multiple containers at a time, then we are going to use Docker Compose. Docker Swarm, this is also used for orchestration. If you want to create multiple containers, if you want to manage multiple containers at a time, then Docker Swarm is required. So this is the syllabus related to Docker tool. Okay, guys. Okay, fine. The next one, we are having Kubernetes. So as part of Kubernetes, we are going to understand what is orchestration. As part of Kubernetes, we are going to learn what is orchestration, and we are going to discuss about Kubernetes introduction. We are going to discuss about Kubernetes introduction, and the most important thing, Kubernetes architecture. One complete day we are going to spend it to understand this Kubernetes architecture, because Kubernetes software is very famous and very powerful and a little difficult also. So you need to spend very good amount of time to understand this Kubernetes, which is used for orchestration in the real time. Kubernetes architecture. Then we are going to understand Kubernetes pods, and we are going to understand Kubernetes services concept, and we are going to discuss about namespaces in the Kubernetes, and we are going to talk about Kubernetes resources like replica set is available, replication controller is available, replica set is available. We are going to talk about the replica set, and we are going to talk about deployment, and we are going to talk about stateful set. Okay, and we are going to talk about daemon set in the Kubernetes. Daemon set we are going to learn, and we are going to talk about config map and secrets in the Kubernetes. Okay, and we are going to talk about horizontal pod autoscaler in the Kubernetes, and we are going to talk about Helm charts in the Kubernetes, and we are going to learn about volumes in the Kubernetes, and we are going to learn what is liveness and readiness props in the Kubernetes. Liveness and readiness props will be available in the Kubernetes, and we are going to set up Grafana and Prometheus for monitoring in the Kubernetes. Okay, how to set up the Grafana and Prometheus in the Kubernetes in order to monitor our applications. So this is what we are going to learn as part of Kubernetes. What is orchestration? Why we need to go for orchestration? What is the benefit we are going to get? What is Kubernetes? Why it is having this much demand in the market? What is the architecture of Kubernetes? And here, most important, Kubernetes cluster setup, guys. Kubernetes cluster setup. In multiple ways, we can do the Kubernetes setup, but in the industry, the most famous Kubernetes setup is AWS EKS cluster. In the AWS, there is a service called EKS. In the AWS, there is a service called EKS. That EKS service is used for setting up the Kubernetes cluster. EKS stands for Elastic Kubernetes Service. Elastic Kubernetes Service. AWS will provide a ready-made cluster for you to run your applications in the Kubernetes. Okay, then we are going to understand what is pod and how to create the pods in the Kubernetes, how to expose the pods by using services. There are three types of services available. Cluster IP is available, node port is available, and a load balancer is available. These are three services we are going to learn. Then namespaces, replica set, deployment, stateful set. Once we go for the deployment, in the industry, people are going to learn. People are going to use blue-green deployment model. Okay. So anybody hear this term, blue-green deployment model? There are some working people available. Have you ever heard about blue-green deployment model? Could you please respond in the chat box? Have you ever heard about blue-green deployment model, guys? Come on. Are you clear with my point? No. So some people heard about the blue-green deployment model. Some people don't know about the blue-green deployment model. In the real time, most of the projects will be deployed in the production by using this blue-green deployment model only. Okay. Then we will talk about stateful set. We will talk about daemon set. We will talk about config map and secrets. We'll talk about horizontal pod autoscaler. We'll talk about Helm charts in the Kubernetes. We'll talk about volumes in the Kubernetes. We'll talk about liveness and readiness probes in the Kubernetes, and we'll talk about Grafana Prometheus setup, which is used to monitor our applications which are running in the Kubernetes cluster. So this is the content that we are going to learn from Kubernetes tool. So this is very important, and it's not that much easy also. So you need to keep in mind, Kubernetes is not that much easy. You need to keep 100% of your efforts to understand the class as well as to practice the concept also. Docker is very simple. But Kubernetes is not that much simple. Keep that in mind. The next one, coming to the Jenkins. So as discussed, Jenkins is a CI/CD server. Which is used to automate project build and deployment process. So here we are going to learn what is CI/CD and why. What is CI/CD and why companies are using this CI/CD? Then we are going to understand Jenkins introduction. What is Jenkins? And we are going to learn about Jenkins setup in Linux VM. Okay, I'm going to take one Linux virtual machine. In that Linux virtual machine, I'm going to set up my Jenkins software. Then we are going to understand about Jenkins plugins. Okay, whenever you set up Jenkins, which is used to automate project build and deployment process. Okay, we are going to automate project build and deployment process. So in order to automate the build and deployment process, Jenkins should talk to GitHub. Jenkins should talk to Maven. Jenkins should talk to Docker. Jenkins should talk to Kubernetes. So here Jenkins requires some plugins to perform these activities. So that's where we are going to understand how to work with Jenkins plugins. Then we are going to learn about Jenkins configuration. Jenkins plugins and Jenkins configuration we are going to understand. Then we will talk about Jenkins jobs. How to create the jobs in the Jenkins by using freestyle approach. Once we are able to understand freestyle approach in the Jenkins, then we are going to talk about Jenkins pipelines. How to create a pipeline in the Jenkins to automate the build and deployment. These Jenkins pipelines we can create in two ways, guys. One is by using declarative approach and the second one is by using scripted approach. Scripted approach means here we are going to use Go language. Here we are going to use Go language in order to write the scripted Jenkins pipeline. If you don't know Go language, then you can use declarative pipeline. I'm going to teach both declarative pipeline as well as scripted pipeline. Once it is done, then we are going to learn about Jenkins master and slave architecture. So instead of running our jobs in one Jenkins server, we are going to set up Jenkins master slave architecture. Okay, Jenkins will be running in one machine, but when you run the Jenkins job, the build and deployment will happen in the another machine. Master slave architecture we are going to configure in the real time to reduce the burden on the Jenkins machine. So in every project in the real time, Jenkins will be executed with the master slave architecture only. So we are going to discuss about that Jenkins master and slave architecture. Okay, so after this one, we are going to learn about Jenkins email integration. Jenkins email integration. What is the meaning of that? Jenkins email integration. When we execute a Jenkins job, it should trigger the email to the project team members. Hey, project build process started. Our team should get a notification from the Jenkins saying that the email is triggered in the Jenkins. The email is triggered in the Jenkins. Suppose once the build is failed, then again we need to send the notification to the team saying that email is triggered. If the build is successful or if the build is failed, whenever the Jenkins job is executed, then I want to trigger an email notification for my project team members. So for that, we are going to understand Jenkins email integration in our system. And another most important thing, user management in the Jenkins. That means role-based access. For everybody, all the options should not be enabled in the Jenkins. When the DevOps team member join, then the DevOps team will have the complete access in the Jenkins. But when a developer logged in into the Jenkins machine, developer will not have all the permissions in the Jenkins, right? So that user management, role-based access we are going to configure in the Jenkins server. Are you guys clear with my point? What is CI/CD and why we need to go for CI/CD? And what is the Jenkins? Why we are using Jenkins in the real time? How to set up Jenkins in the Linux machine? And what plugins we need to configure in the Jenkins to automate our project build and deployment. Basically, the Git plugin, Maven plugin, Java and Docker plugins, Kubernetes plugins, all those plugins we are going to configure. Jenkins configurations. So I want to set up Java in the Jenkins. I want to set up Maven in the Jenkins. Okay, some system configuration is required. How to Jenkins system configuration we will perform. Then we will start creating jobs in the Jenkins. Jenkins job nothing but a CI/CD process to automate build and deployment. The jobs you can create in the Jenkins in two ways. One is by using UI. Jenkins will provide you beautiful user interface to create the jobs. So if you don't want to go with that user interface, then you can go for the pipeline. In the real time, people will use the pipelines option. CI/CD pipeline. Pipeline nothing but set of steps will be involved in the Jenkins pipeline to automate our project build and deployment process. Okay, so those pipelines also we can write in two ways. One is declarative pipeline, another one is scripted pipeline. Declarative pipeline is nothing but plain English we are going to use to write that pipeline. Okay, if you want to write some complex pipelines, if you want to write some conditions in the pipeline, then you can go for scripted pipeline. So scripted pipeline nothing but Go language we are going to use to write the pipeline script in the Jenkins. I will tell you how to write both pipelines. Then we are going to understand master and slave architecture in the Jenkins. Okay, so instead of running the Jenkins in one machine, we are going to set up multiple machines in order to execute our CI/CD process in the real time. Okay. Sorry, scripted pipeline, not Go language, guys. It is Groovy language. It's my bad. So we are going to use Groovy language in order to write the scripted pipelines in the Jenkins, not Go language. Kubernetes is developed using Go language, but Jenkins is using Groovy language for the scripted pipeline. Okay, then how to integrate emails in the Jenkins. So when the job is executed, I want to send the email notification for my team members. Okay, then next one, user management in Jenkins. So how to give access for Jenkins dashboard for team members, what operations our team member can perform in the Jenkins, role-based access we can enable in the Jenkins by using this user management and user roles configuration. So this is what we are going to learn here. Once all these things are completed, guys, once all these things are completed, then the conclusion, what we are going to learn, part 4 here, project setup by integrating all the tools. Okay, project setup by integrating Docker plus Kubernetes plus Jenkins. So initially we are going to learn all these 3 tools individually. First we will learn Docker for 1 week. Then next we will go for Kubernetes for 10 days to 15 days of time. We are going to spend for Kubernetes. After Kubernetes, then we will go for Jenkins. 3 tools we will learn separately. At the end of this, after these 3 tools are completed, then we need to set up one complete project by integrating all these 3 tools to automate the project build and deployment process. So this is what we are going to learn. The next one, sir, in order to attend this course, who are eligible? Okay, who can learn this course here? Prerequisites for this course. Sir, what are the prerequisites? Linux basics. That's it. Okay, so what are the prerequisites for this one? You need to have one account in the AWS cloud account, and you should have basic knowledge on the Linux. If anybody don't know the Linux operating system, no problem. I will share my Linux videos 1.5 hour. I think my Linux class is available for 1.5 hour. Complete summary of the Linux, basic Linux commands I have explained in the 1.5 hour. So if you go through that 1.5 hour Linux video of my class, then you are eligible for this course. Okay, who can learn? Who can learn this course now? Okay, so as I told you, in this batch, my DevOps students are available. And developers also can learn. Java developers, Python developers, .NET developers, all the developers also can join for this Docker, Kubernetes, and Jenkins. But for developers, this much content is not required. In my Java batches also, I will teach Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins. But in the Java batch, Docker we will teach only for 2 days. Basic of Docker. Kubernetes we will teach only for 2 days. Jenkins will teach only 1 day for the developers, because for the developers, this much content is not required. But as a developer, you are learning this much content means then you are equal to DevOps engineer. Okay, so I'm teaching Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins in my Java batches also. But in the Java, 3 tools will complete in 4 days. But for the DevOps people, these are 3 tools we are teaching for 30 days. 3 days, 30 days. What is the difference? Same tools we are completing in 3 days for the developers. Same 3 tools we are completing in 30 days for the DevOps people. What is the difference? What is the difference, guys? Come on. What is the difference? If I teach these 3 tools for the developers, the 3 tools will be completed in 3 to 4 days of time. Okay. But for the DevOps people, we need to teach in depth. At the administrator level, we need to learn. At the administrator level, we need to learn. In depth, we need to learn about these 3 tools. Developers will just use Docker. Developer will just use Kubernetes, Jenkins. Developers will use like an end user. Developer will just log into Jenkins and they will run the job. So if you see in my, I think for the one of the previous batch, I have taken the Jenkins workshop. Almost 2 hours or 2.5 hours Jenkins workshop I have taken. If you see my Jenkins video is already there. Yes. So if you see one of the popular video in our YouTube channel, my Jenkins CI/CD video is there. This is for Java developers. So in my previous Java batch 1 year back, I have taken Jenkins workshop for 2.5 hours. For developers, this is sufficient. So if you see 1 year back, I have uploaded a video. 1,43,000 people already watched that video. This is a developer level content. But for DevOps people, this is not sufficient. For the DevOps people, this much knowledge is required. This much knowledge is required. So that is the reason. So for Docker, almost 1 week, 4 to 5 classes for Docker. Kubernetes 10 to 15 days, 10 to 15 classes will take for Kubernetes. And Jenkins, 1 week of time we are going to spend. Then once all the 3 tools are completed, 1 week, 1 day we are going to spend 2 hours of time we are going to spend one complete class, 2 hours of class we are going to spend to integrate this Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins to set up project CI/CD pipelines. So in order to attend this, what is the prerequisite? AWS cloud account, basics of Linux, that's it. Who can learn? DevOps engineers should learn. It's mandatory for the DevOps engineers. For developers, it is recommended. Nowadays, in every interview, for developers also they're asking how to write a Docker file. Can you tell me how you will Dockerize your Spring Boot application? Can you tell me how to Dockerize Python application? Can you tell me how to execute Jenkins CI/CD pipeline to automate build and deployment? Can you tell me what is pod in the Kubernetes? Can you tell me how to access pods outside of the network? So can you tell me what is the blue-green model? These are the basic questions they are asking for developers also. Can you tell me how to deploy your application in the production with zero downtime? Could you please explain what is the blue-green deployment model to release the project to the production environment? So these questions are nowadays very common for experienced developers also. Even for freshers also they're asking, do you know what is a containerization? Do you know what is orchestration? Do you know what is a CI/CD pipeline? So that's why developers can learn. DevOps engineers, definitely they have to learn. There is no option. Are you clear with my point? What is our course content and what we are going to learn and what is the prerequisite and who can learn this course? You got the clarity now? You got the clarity now, guys? So in the real time, how we are going to use this Jenkins tools? So in the real time, how we are going to use this Jenkins? Okay. So in the real time, we are going to use, one point I forgot to mention here, guys. In the Kubernetes, there is one more concept available, which is called ingress controller. There is one more concept I forgot to mention, which is ingress controller. That also we are going to learn. What is ingress controller? Why we need to go for ingress controller? That point also we are going to discuss. All right, fine. So in the real time, where we are going to use this Jenkins. So developers will write the code. Developers code will be available in the GitHub. Now we need to take the code from the GitHub and we need to build that code by using Maven and we need to deploy that code into Tomcat server. Instead of we are doing that work manually, we need to automate that work by using CI/CD pipeline. That's where Jenkins comes into picture. So this is very basic example. So developers are pushing their code into GitHub. Source code is available in the Git repository. As a DevOps engineer, we need to take the code from the GitHub. We need to build that code by using Maven and we need to deploy that code into server. Instead of we are doing this work manually, we will automate this work by using Jenkins pipeline. Then next, little advanced Jenkins pipeline. So developer, this is very basic pipeline. This is very basic pipeline. Next, advanced pipeline. Developers are writing the code. Developer will push the code to the GitHub. Then we need to take the code from the GitHub. We need to build that code by using Maven and we need to review that code by using Sonar. Then we need to upload the artifact into Nexus. Then we need to deploy the code into Tomcat. Instead of we are doing this work manually, we will automate it by using Jenkins. This is one CI/CD pipeline by integrating all the DevOps tools. So in the first Jenkins job, very basic. Take the code, build and deploy. Clone the repository from GitHub, build that code by using Maven, then deploy that code into Tomcat. Next, more advanced, little improved pipeline. Take the code, build that code, and review that code, upload that into Nexus, then deploy into Tomcat. And the next level, developers will push the code to GitHub, and we need to take that code by using Jenkins. Then we need to build that code by using Maven. Then we need to build Docker image for that code. Then we need to deploy that Docker image in the Kubernetes cluster. So in this course, in this Docker Kubernetes Jenkins, this is what we are going to learn. Development team will write the source code of the project. They will push their source code into GitHub repository. So in some project, developers only should deploy the code. In some projects, DevOps team will be available to deploy the code. So what is the build and deployment process? So you can see in this diagram. So in this diagram, what is there? Okay. So here, if you see, developers will write the code and a developer will push that code. Developer will push that code to GitHub. Then we need to take that code from the GitHub. How to take it? Manually you can take and you can do the work. Manual build and deployment. If you do manual build and deployment, it will take a lot of time. So that's why industry is looking for automated build and deployment. How to automate that build and deployment? So we are going to use Jenkins pipeline. So push the code to GitHub, then clone that code, clone the repository, then build that code by using Maven. Then once the build is completed, then we need to create a Docker image for our application to achieve containerization. Once the Docker image is created, then we will deploy that code into Kubernetes cluster. This is one approach. And in the real time, one more approach. So push the code to GitHub, then clone that, build, review that code, upload the artifact to Nexus, then build a Docker image, then deploy in the Kubernetes. So like this, you can create the pipeline by including several DevOps tools. It depends on the project requirement, what tools we need to use and how we need to integrate them as a DevOps engineer, how we will create the CI/CD pipeline. Whatever the process you are seeing in the diagram, this process is called CI/CD pipeline process, continuous integration, continuous deployment. How that automation will happen? Whenever developer modifies some code in the GitHub, immediately my Jenkins job will execute. Everything will be automated. You no need to do anything. It's a one-time effort. You just write the CI/CD pipeline in the Jenkins. Then you configure that pipeline with the GitHub repository. Whenever there is a code change in the GitHub, if you just add one line in the GitHub repository, immediately my Jenkins job will trigger automatically. It's not manual process, completely automation. Whenever you modify the code, in the GitHub, immediately my Jenkins will recognize that, oh, something is modified in the GitHub. I need to build and I need to deploy. That is CI/CD. Then Jenkins will take the code from the latest code from the GitHub. Then Jenkins will talk to Maven, will build that. It will create a WAR file. Then Jenkins will talk to SonarQube. It will review the code review report will be generated. Then Jenkins will talk to Nexus, will upload that artifact into Nexus repository. Then Jenkins will talk to the Docker to create a Docker image. Once the Docker image is created, then Jenkins will talk to Kubernetes to deploy the Docker image in the Kubernetes cluster. Finally, our application will be executed in the Kubernetes cluster as a pod. This is a production CI/CD pipeline that people are following in the industry. Even in my project also, we have these kind of pipelines. So in this course, in this 30 days of time, you are going to learn how to create this CI/CD pipeline. First, we will learn Docker, then we will learn Kubernetes, then we will learn Jenkins. At the end, we will integrate all these three tools and we will create a CI/CD pipeline to automate project build and deployment process. This is the summary of our course. This is the roadmap for next 30 days of time. Are you guys clear? You got the clarity? What we are going to learn? Are you guys clear with this? What we are going to learn? What is the outcome of this batch? What we are going to learn in this course? I hope you got the clarity. In the Kubernetes, I'm not going to use GKE. GKE nothing but It is a cluster that we will set up in the GCP cloud. AKE means that is a cluster we will set up in the Azure cloud. We are using AWS cloud. I will set up EKS cluster. Kubernetes cluster we can set up in the AWS, we can set up in Azure, we can set up in GCP also. EKS, AKS and GKE is available. We are going to learn EKS here. That means the Kubernetes cluster we will set up in the AWS cloud. How to set up that cluster in the AWS? That is part of our syllabus. Everything I told you, right? How to set up Docker in the machine. Docker setup is Docker setup concept I will explain in the class. Kubernetes cluster setup I will explain in the class. Jenkins setup I will explain in the class. For these setups, right? Already I have documents in my GitHub repository. Step by step, my documents already, the documents are available. If you go to my GitHub repository, you can see DevOps documents folder is available. DevOps docs repository available. Jenkins server setup. How to set up the Jenkins server, I have given step by step. By following this document, you can set up the Jenkins. I will do that in the class. After the class, you will take this document and you will do that. How to set up a Docker? Docker setup document I have given in the Git repository. How to do the Docker Compose setup? How to integrate Jenkins Docker, Docker with Jenkins integration, EKS setup. How to set up EKS cluster? That means Elastic Kubernetes service in the AWS cloud. I have given the steps. By following this document, we are going to set up Kubernetes cluster in the AWS cloud. And the next one, how to integrate Jenkins, Docker, and Kubernetes. Okay, project setup using Maven, GitHub, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes. This project we are going to do as part of our course. Everything I have given step by step here. Total 13-14 steps are available in order to set up our project by integrating all these three tools. Okay, I will share this Git repository link, and along with this, for every tool, detailed notes also you are going to get. So in my previous batch also I have explained this Docker, Kubernetes, and Jenkins. For the new people, I'm showing you this. Okay, so here, if you see in my previous batch, Docker notes is available. Docker notes, Kubernetes notes, Jenkins notes available. When I open Docker, daily the class notes I'm going to share in the website like this. So complete Docker material, Docker setup, Docker commands, Docker file, how to write a Docker file. Okay, this is my class notes, my running notes that I'm going to prepare, and I'm going to share these notes on daily basis. So this notes is used for your practice. So these are the Docker commands which are used to build one Python application by using Docker. Okay, so Docker network, and coming to Docker Compose, Docker volumes, Docker Compose, Docker volumes, and Docker Swarm. Docker Swarm is the last topic. Okay, with this Docker will be completed. These are the topics we are going to learn in the Docker. How to run Java application, how to run Spring Boot, how to run Python, all these concepts we are going to learn. Similarly, for Kubernetes also we have a notes. Okay, what is Kubernetes, Docker versus Kubernetes, Kubernetes architecture, Kubernetes cluster, EKS cluster, and Kubernetes resources, pods, namespaces, services, replication controller, replica set, deployment, daemon set, pod, stateful set, ingress controller, Helm charts, monitoring, EFK stack setup to monitor the logs of the application. All these things we are going to learn from Kubernetes. So this notes is already prepared. I will share this. Similarly for the Jenkins also. Jenkins notes is also available. What is the Jenkins? What is build and deployment? How to create the jobs in the Jenkins? How to do the user management in the Jenkins? So all these things we are going to learn. Jenkins pipeline. Okay, so this is the Jenkins declarative pipeline. This kind of Jenkins pipeline we are going to create, and we are going to write a scripted pipeline and declarative pipelines. Email configurations in the Jenkins. Declarative pipeline with email notifications. Jenkins job with parallel stages. Working with the shared libraries in the Jenkins. Okay, shared library integration. These are the topics we are going to learn in the Jenkins. And scripted pipeline. How to write the scripted pipeline in the Jenkins we are going to learn. Multi-branch pipelines we are going to learn. So whatever I have mentioned in the notes, all these topics we are going to cover. Are you clear with my point? Okay. AKS I'm not going to cover here. I'm going to cover EKS. AKS is related to Azure Cloud, guys. So here I'm going to cover EKS. Elastic Kubernetes Service. Yes, how to set up the EKS, everything. We are going to practice on the EKS. In the real time also, people will use EKS cluster. Okay, perfect. Good. Now, I hope you got the clarity. What is this course and what we are going to learn? What is the syllabus and what is the prerequisite? Good. The people who don't know about the Linux, so for them, as I told you, I have given my WhatsApp channel link in the Zoom chat box, right? So please follow us in our WhatsApp channel. After this class is completed, I'm going to share the Linux videos for you. The people who don't know the Linux, so for them, I'm going to share the Linux videos, 4 or 5 videos available, each video 15 to 20 minutes only, guys. You can go through the Linux video before coming to tomorrow's session. Then you are eligible to attend. Basic Linux commands are required. The Linux commands I have explained in one video. I will share that video link in the WhatsApp channel. The channel link I have given in the Zoom chat box. I want all of you to click on that channel and follow us in that channel. Then you will get the update. Are you clear with my point, guys? Are you able to follow? Are you able to follow us in the WhatsApp channel? New people. Today's video also I will upload in that channel. Yes, perfect. So the people who are attending these 3 tools, guys, as I told you, this course will be there for 30 days. Duration of the course is going to be 30 days of time for the new people. And the course fees is 8,000 rupees, 8,000 INR for this course. You will get live classes, you will get notes, plus you will get backup videos. Backup videos, 1 year validity will be available. After the course completion, 1 year validity will be available for the classes. And the class timings, daily class will be available from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. IST up to 8. Okay, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. IST, the class will be available. Okay. Or if I'm going to take 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., I'm going to take this class. Okay. Then the class will be available from Monday to Friday. 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. If I take 2 hours per day, then the class will be available from Monday to Friday. So Saturday, Sunday, you can use for your practice. So this is the information. Duration 30 days for Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins. Fees is 8,000. This is for the people who are attending these 3 tools. My DevOps people, for you, this fees is not applicable. So DevOps course already includes this Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins. Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins is a subset of our DevOps course. For DevOps people, this fees is not applicable. Okay. Only for the people who are learning Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins, for them it is 8,000. Timing 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Friday, the classes will be available. You got my point? Good. Perfect. So any questions if you guys are having at the end of the session, you can unmute and you can ask your questions. All right. Now, first let's understand what is this Docker and why we need to go for this Docker, guys. What is this Docker and why we need to go for this Docker? Syllabus wise, you are clear. If you are clear, could you please respond in the chat box? Are you clear with the points, whatever we discussed? Syllabus, prerequisites, timings, duration, fees. If you are clear with this one, please mention clear in the chat box. Okay. So introduction, demo is completed. From now, the regular class is going to start. The actual content is going to start from now. All right. So let's get started and let's understand what is this Docker and why we need to go for Docker. So if you want to understand what is this Docker and what is this containerization, first you need to know about application architecture. You need to know about application architecture, then you will understand what are the problems available without Docker, how the Docker is going to solve our problems. All right. So let's talk about application architecture, guys. So when we go for application architecture, for every application, three layers will be available. Our application will be divided into three layers, guys. So the first layer that you can see is front end of the application. For every application, front end will be available. That is nothing but UI. User interface will be available for our application. The next one, for every application, backend will be available. That backend will contain business logic like Java, Python, .NET technologies will be used in order to develop backend of the application. So backend means whenever you log in, it will verify your credentials are valid or not. That is backend. And backend will send OTP message to your mobile number. Backend will send email to your mail ID. So all that is a business logic in the application. User interface means whatever you see in the website, which is called as user interface. Now, if you go to our website and you are able to see a menu here, login button is available and a training schedule page available, courses offering page available. Okay, you can see here what are the free workshops available in our website or what free workshops we are conducting. And you can see the interview questions also, and you can see the software job openings. Everything is available in the website. So which company is having an opening, how to apply for that company, all the details we are providing in our website. Every day we are updating 2 to 3 software job openings in the website. Okay, now whatever you see in our website, which is called front end, nothing but user interface, we can see with our eyes. A logo is available, a menu is available, a button is available, a form is available. If I give some incorrect username password, then login. It is saying invalid email ID or password. That means it is checking my credentials are valid or not. Whatever you see on the browser, that is called front end of the application, which is called user interface. And when you perform some operation on the user interface, some logic will execute in the backend, that is business logic. And for every application, database will be available, which is used to store the data. Database is providing storage. Storage means if you go to here, job openings here. If you go to job openings here, it is fetching the information. Which company is having an opening, how much package they are providing, which location they are having an opening, what are the eligibility, what is the eligibility criteria for that company, what is the qualification they are expecting, how much package they are offering, what is the job location. So all this information we are storing in our website and we are displaying for the people. And when you go for another job opening, L&T company is looking for software engineers for Mumbai location. So when you click on that, it is giving eligibility criteria. Okay, what is the qualification, how much package they are offering, which location they are hiring. So this information we are fetching and we are displaying for the people. So where this information is available? In my website. My website is having this information. How my website is managing this information, where it is storing that information, that's where database comes into picture. For every application, database will be available, which is used to store the data. Now, when you go to the application and when I log in into my application as a faculty, I have the faculty role in this application. When I log in into my application, it is displaying the courses which I am teaching. Some courses are completed, some courses are in progress. I'm going to upload the notes. When you click on view notes, it is going to show the notes which is available. When I click on the download option, it is going to open the file where the interview questions I have uploaded. Okay, these files are available. From where these files are coming? That means for our application, there is a database. For every project, database will be available, which is used to store the data. So software application architecture. If you want to know about what is Docker, what is the purpose of the Docker, then you need to know about application architecture. So when we go for application architecture, guys, front end will be available, back end will be available, database will be available. Front end nothing but user interface, back end nothing but business logic. Database is used for storage. Now, end users will communicate with the front end of the application. To develop that front end of the application, in the market there are some technologies available. Angular available, React available, Vue.js. Like this, there are some technologies available in order to develop front end of the application. Similarly, to develop back end of the application, Java, .NET, Python, PHP, Node.js, like that, some technologies available. And databases. There are several databases available in the market. Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB, SQL Server, like this, there are several databases also available in the market. Now, let's talk about the reality. So in the company, project is developed with the front end, back end, and database. Now, we want to deploy that project, we want to run that project. So in order to run this project, we need to understand what are the technologies used in that project. What is the tech stack of the application? Tech stack nothing but what are the technologies they have used in order to develop this application. So to develop this application, assume that the front end of the application developed by using Angular 16 version. The front end, the user interface of the project is developed by using Angular 16 version. The back end of the application is developed by using Java 17 version. These versions are very important, guys. These versions are very important. Angular 16 version we use it to develop the front end. Back end is developed by using Angular 17. And for this application, we are using MySQL server, MySQL DB server, MySQL 8.5 version we have used to run this application. And to run this project, we used a web server called Tomcat 9.0 version. Okay, this is the technology stack of our application. Now, if I want to run this application in a machine, if I want to run this application in a machine, then what I need to do, guys? I need to take one machine. That means I need to take one computer. I need to take one computer. In this computer, I need to install Angular 17 version, Angular 16. Angular 16 software I need to install in this machine to run front end of the application. And to run the back end of the application, I need to install Java 17 version. I need to install Java 17 version in this machine. And to communicate with, to store the data, I need to install MySQL 8.5 version. MySQL database is required for the project to store the data. MySQL DB 8.5 version I need to install. And to run this Java application, I need to install Tomcat Server 9.0. Tomcat Server 9.0 is required in order to run this application. So these all are the softwares that are required to run my application in a computer. So developers developed this application. Now, in order to run this application in a computer, I need to download and install Angular 17, which is used to run front end of the application. And I need to download and install Java to run the back end of the application. To store the data, I need to download and install MySQL database. To run this application, I need a Tomcat server. This is one machine, guys. This is one machine. So in this machine, I'm going to install all these softwares and I'm going to run my application. Are you clear with my point? Are you clear with my point? What is application architecture and what is technology stack of the application? Application is divided into three parts: front end, back end, database. Front end contains user interface, presentation layer that is developed by using Angular. Back end contains business logic that is developed by using Java. For this application, database required to store the data. MySQL database we are using. So Angular, Java, MySQL. To run this application, one server, that is web server Tomcat. Now, if I want to run this application, then I need to take one computer that can be Windows or it can be Linux. In the real time, Linux is used. So I need to take one machine. In that machine, I need to download and install Angular. And I need to install Java, MySQL DB, then Tomcat server. Then only my application can be executed. Suppose, for example, to test my application, I need to run my application in 10 computers, guys. So instead of running my application in one machine, I want to run my application in 10 machines. Machine 2, machine 3, machine 4, and so on. There are 10 machines available. I want to run my same application. Whatever the application we have developed, the application to run in one machine, I need to install all these softwares in this machine, then only my application can execute. Now the same application I want to run in 10 different computers, guys. I want to run same application in 10 different containers, in 10 different machines. Is there any problem? Is there any problem? Come on. I have one application, developers developed it, they developed a front end, they developed a back end, they implemented database. Front end developed using Angular 16 version, remember that. Back end developed using Java 17 version, database 8.5 version, Tomcat 9.0. Now if I want to run this application in one machine, I need to download and I need to install those softwares properly with the exact version. Properly with the exact version I need to install. Now the requirement is same application I want to run in 10 computers. Is there any challenge available for us? Is there any challenge available here? Is there any challenge available here? Come on. Come on, guys. Is there any challenge available or there is no challenge available? Challenge, if I want to run this in 10 computers, what is the challenge available here? First of all, is there any challenge or there is no challenge? Challenge is available. Challenge is available. What is that challenge? Setting up the machine with all the softwares, that is a challenge. Setting up a machine with all the required softwares is a challenge. Time waste. So you need to go to the second machine and install the softwares and verify softwares are installed or not. Go to the third machine, install the softwares, verify softwares are installed or not. Go to third machine, go to fourth machine, go to fifth machine, go to 10th machine. You need to install all the required software. For example, by mistake, in one machine, instead of Java 17, we installed Java 15. Okay. By mistake, you installed Java 15 version in one machine. By mistake, unwantedly. Then application will execute or application will not execute. Application developed using Java 17 version. It requires Java 17. But in one machine, by mistake, Java 15 is installed. Then application will fail. Application will fail. So these version problems, version conflicts. Suppose if I want to run the same application in 100 machines. If I want to run the same application in 100 machines, you need to install these softwares in 100 machines. As a manually, you need to go and install the softwares in 100 machines. If you do any small mistake, then your application will not execute as expected. Your application will not execute as expected. This is the problem that people are facing. So whatever the softwares that are required to run our application, these softwares are called as dependencies of our application. To run my application, Angular is dependency. To run my application, Java is dependency. Database is dependency. My application depends on Angular. My application depends on Java. My application depends on MySQL. My application depends on Tomcat server. So whatever the softwares that are required to run my application, those softwares are called as dependencies of our application. Are you clear with my point? Now, if we want to run our application code, then we need to set up all the above required dependencies in the machine. If we want to run our application code, then we need to set up all required dependencies in the machine. What is the meaning of dependencies? Here, dependencies is nothing but the softwares which are required to run our application. Example, Java 17 version is required, Angular 16 version is required, MySQL 8.5 is required, Tomcat server 9.0 is required. These are called as dependencies in order to run our application. So you need to set up these dependencies. You need to set up these dependencies. So it is very difficult to set up these dependencies manually. To overcome this problem, we are going to use Docker. Okay. If you don't have the Docker, then you need to set up all these softwares in all the machines to run your application manually. Now, I don't want to do that. That's where we are going to use Docker to run the application. What is the benefit of using the Docker now? The benefit of using the Docker is if you use Docker to run the application, then you no need to install these softwares, guys. You no need to install the softwares. Docker will take care of the dependencies for your application. What dependencies are required to run your application, that will be taken care by Docker. That is called containerization. I will tell to Docker, hey Docker, I need Angular 16, Java 17, database 8.5, Tomcat 9.0. You tell to Docker, then Docker will download those dependencies and will run your application. So if you have the Docker, then your application will be packaged as a Docker container. Your application will be packaged as a box. In that box, Docker will keep all the dependencies. That box you can execute in any machine. So you have 10 machines. If you want to run your application manually, you need to install all these softwares in all the machines manually. Okay, that is time-taking process, and there is a chance of doing the mistake. So that's why what people are doing now, array, manually, why should we take care of the dependencies? Let's take care of Docker. So Docker will take care of the dependencies. You need to tell to the Docker, hey Docker, run my application. And my application requires Angular 17, Angular 16, Java 17, MySQL 8.5, Tomcat 9.0. If you give this information to the Docker, then Docker will take care of the dependencies. Then you can run your application in any machine, 1,000 machines, 10,000 machines also. Within a fraction of seconds, you can run your application in 1,000 machines also without bothering about the dependencies. What is the meaning of dependency? Dependency is nothing but the softwares which are required to run our application. If you don't use Docker in the project, then it is your responsibility to set up the dependencies in the system to run the application. If you use Docker, Docker will take care of the dependencies. Are you clear with my point? What are the problems without Docker? Are you guys clear with my point? What are the problems available without Docker? What are the problems available without Docker? Come on. Come on, guys. You got the problem without Docker. What is the problem without Docker? I'm not getting any response. I'm not getting any response. What are the challenges available, guys? If you are not using Docker, what are the challenges available? Deployment process is difficult in multiple machines. If you want to deploy your application in multiple machines, that will become very challenging. That will become very challenging if you want to deploy your application in multiple machines. Okay. So some people are saying, sir, Ansible is available to install the dependencies. Okay, Ansible will work only for Linux. What about Windows? If I want to run my application in 10 Windows machines, then will Ansible work in the Windows? No. Ansible purpose is different. By using Ansible, you can install the software. That's okay, but you can't run the application. Ansible is only just to install the softwares. You got my point? Okay, fine. So here we understand the problem. Application architecture, for every application, 3 layers will be available. Front end, back end, database. Front end means user interface will be available. Back end, business logic, database to store the data. Front end is developed by using one technology. Back end is developed using another technology. Database is used to store the data. Now, if you want to run your application, then we need to install all these softwares in a machine. If it is one machine, that is okay. But if I want to run in 10 machines, if I want to run in 50 machines, then it is difficult. It is difficult to install the softwares. And if you install a wrong version, then application will fail. It will take a lot of time for you to do this setup manually. So that's where people are going to use Docker to run our application easily. People are going to use Docker to run our application easily. So if you want to run the application code, then we need to set up all the required dependencies in the machine. Dependency is nothing but softwares which are required to run the application. If we want to run the application in 100 machines, if we want to run same application in 100 machines, then it is hectic task. Then it is hectic task to set up dependencies, and there is a chance of human errors, chance of human mistakes. They may install wrong software. They may install wrong version of the software. Instead of Java 17, by mistake they install Java 15. Application will fail. Okay. So to overcome these problems, we are going to use Docker. To overcome the above problem, we will use Docker tool. To overcome the above problem, we will use Docker tool. Guys, new people, you no need to write the notes. No need to write the notes on your own. I am writing the notes for you. I'm doing multitasking. I'm teaching, I'm explaining, and I'm typing. So I will share these notes with you on daily basis. I will upload these notes in the website. You can use it for your reference. You no need to write the notes. You just focus on the class and concentrate. If you get any doubt in the middle of the class, you post in the Zoom chat. I'm reading your chat box, but I will answer all your questions at the end of the session. Okay. If I give option to ask your doubts, right, that will become doubts clarification session. It will not be like a regular class because 100 plus people are available. Everybody will ask a question. If everybody asks one question for 1 minute, 100 minutes, 1.5 hours, that day class will not happen. So that's why first I will complete the class. At the end, I will give the option to ask your doubts. If you feel that, sir, 1.5 hours, I may forget my doubt. That's why you can post your doubt in the chat box so that you can read that at the end of the class. Whenever you get a doubt, immediately type in the chat box. Then at the end of the class, we can read that. You got my point, right? So you understand what is the problem if we don't use Docker? You understand what is the problem if we don't use Docker? Yes, what is the problem if we don't use Docker, guys? If we want to run the same application in 100 machines, then it is a hectic task to set up required dependencies, and there is a chance of human mistakes. Lot of time waste, lot of people we need to recruit to deploy the application. Application deployment process will become difficult. Application deployment process will become difficult if you don't use Docker. So to overcome the problem, we will use Docker tool in the real time. Now let's understand what is this Docker. Now let's understand what is this Docker. The very first thing that you need to understand, we need to understand, Docker is a free and open source software, guys. What is Docker? It is a free and open source software. It's free of cost. You don't need to pay money to use this Docker. And why we are going to use this Docker? Docker is used for containerization. That means execution. Our application deployment process we will simplify by using Docker. Docker is used for containerization. With the help of Docker, we can run our application in any machine, whether you are having Windows machine, whether you are having Linux machine, whether you are having Mac machine, that doesn't matter. Docker will take care of the platform. Docker will take care of the dependencies to run your application in any computer. So here, if you want to run your application in the 10 machines, you no need to bother Java is available or not, that Java 17 is available or not, Angular is available or not, that Tomcat available or not, database is available or not. You no need to think about that because Docker is there. Whatever the dependencies are required to run your application, Docker will take care of those dependencies. That is the advantage. You got my point? I have 1,000 computers. I want to run my application in 1,000 computers. What about the dependencies? Do I need to install the dependencies or Docker will install the dependencies for us? I want to run my application in 1,000 computers. In 1,000 computers, I will install the dependencies or Docker will install the dependencies. Docker will take care of it. That is the benefit. You got my point? So what is the Docker? Docker is a free and it is open source software. Docker is used for containerization. With the help of Docker, we can run our application in any machine. Okay. So Docker will take care of dependencies installation required for application execution. Okay. Docker will take care of dependencies installation required for application execution. Docker will make our application portable. Docker will make our application portable. Portable means you can execute your application in any machine. You don't need to bother about dependencies. Your application will become portable. You have application, you want to run in the Windows machine. That Windows machine is a brand new machine. No software is available. Excuse me, guys. You purchased one Windows machine. In that Windows machine, Java is not available, that Angular not available, Tomcat not available, database not available. You no need to install also. You use Docker and you run the application. Then Docker will install the dependencies. For example, you have a Linux machine. In that Linux machine, you want to run your application, but dependencies are not installed. No, Docker will take care of it. You have a Mac machine, Docker will take care of it. So your application will become portable. You can run your application in any machine if you use Docker for that. Are you clear? What is Docker? Are you clear with my point? What is Docker? Why we are going for Docker? Docker is a free and open source software, guys. It is used for containerization. Containerization means it will package our application code and application dependencies into one box and it will execute it. That is called containerization. But today, you may not get full clarity on the containerization going forward. We have another 4-5 classes on there on the Docker, right? So in those classes, you are going to learn about containerization concept properly. So with the help of this Docker, we can run our application in any machine. Docker will take care of dependencies installation required for application execution. We can make our application portable by using Docker. What is the meaning of a portable? What is the meaning of a portable, guys? Come on. What do you mean by portable? What is the meaning of a portable? Easily transferable. Portable, nothing but easily transferable. We can use it anywhere. Not only Windows, not only Linux, not only Mac. In any machine, in any platform, we can use. Docker supports multiple platforms. Docker is platform independent basically. Docker is platform independent. We can use the Docker in Windows, Linux, and Mac also. Docker is platform independent. We can use the Docker in Windows, Linux, and Mac operating system also. So what is the meaning of a Docker container, guys? Docker application will be executed as a Docker container. Docker container, nothing but application code plus application dependencies. So if you see, when we are talking about the Docker, it will be available as a box. This box is called as a container. What is there in this box? In this box, our project code will be available and project dependencies. What are the softwares are required to run the project? Those dependencies. Code plus dependencies will be packaged into one box. That box is called container. And if you see Docker logo, ship is available. In that ship, multiple containers available. Why they are giving ship? Ship means easily you can transfer Docker containers from one machine to another machine. That is the meaning of that logo. The ship is available. Inside the ship, containers available. That means easily you can transfer from one location to another location. Easily you can execute your application in any machine. In Windows, in Linux, in Mac, the containers can be executed in any machine. So they have given a meaningful logo for that. Ship logo is available. Inside that ship, containers available. What is a container? Container is a box. Container is a box. What is there in that box? Code will be available. Required softwares will be available. That box you can run in any machine. That is the meaning of that logo. Are you clear? What is Docker? Docker is an open source platform for developing, shipping, and running applications in the containers. Container is a lightweight environment where the application code and application dependencies will be available. Using Docker, we can make our application portable. That means we can run our application in any machine. I hope you are clear with this. What is Docker? What is container? Why people are using Docker? And what is the benefit of working with the Docker? In the tomorrow session, we are going to talk about Docker architecture, guys. Tomorrow I will explain what is the Docker architecture and I will explain how to set up the Docker in the Linux machine. So tomorrow we'll talk about Docker architecture and Docker setup in the Linux machine. Okay, with this I'm stopping for today. Now it's time for doubts clarification. So once again, a reminder, the new people, you will get this video. For the DevOps people, for the JRTP people, we will upload this video in the portal, guys. Don't worry about that. And the new people who are joining for only this Docker Kubernetes Jenkins, to watch this backup video, I will share it in our WhatsApp channel. Channel link I have given in the chat box. Please follow us in the channel. You will get the today's class video. Tomorrow also you can attend the free session with the same Zoom link. Same time. Tomorrow class will start at 6 p.m. Thank you, guys.